Welcome to the security governance discipline for the cloud adoption framework, secure methodology. My name is Mark Simos, lead cybersecurity architect. Abbas?
My name is Abbas Kudrati. I'm a chief security advisor for Microsoft APEC here in Melbourne, Australia.
So let's talk a little bit about security governance. This is a topic that a lot of people tend to think is kind of boring, or it's not interesting. But the reality is governance is actually a really important and really interesting, exciting topic, in my opinion, anyway. Your thoughts on it, Abbas?
Absolutely. So when we talk about governance, it always starts from the business first, and if you take the literal meaning of governance is govern. Govern means to steer. So what is the direction, as you say, what is the direction the security wants to go? What is the direction the business wants to go? What are their goals? What are their risks? And that's how we need to align with them as a part of the business, speaking the same language, what business understands.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about governance is it really, especially in this huge transformation to zero trust and the business transformation of digital transformation, and the technology cloud transformation, all of these things are changing to a dynamic footing and changing to real-time updates and continuous improvement. And it's really governance and architecture that are driving the security piece into that dynamic engagement model. And when we look at classic approaches to security, there's been a lot of organizations that kind of think that being compliant with security standards means you're secure, and that's the end of the journey, that's the end of the road. But in truth, that's actually just the beginning. That's the foundation, that's the minimum. Because the way I like to talk about it is, with compliance reporting and meeting the compliance requirements, it's kind of like feeding the bear in the zoo. If you don't feed the bear's going to eat you. And so you want to feed the bear because you don't want the bear to eat you. And so it's important and it's foundational, and you've got to do it. And regulated industries are the ones where this applies. And so it's really important to do that. But that's only the beginning, because compliance standards are the best practices and the latest thinking as of the time they were last written. And so they are really good for that, but the attackers have been thinking and innovating ever since that time. And the business has been innovating and shifting direction as well. So it's really important to keep those business goals and the risk as your North Star.
Mark, I have heard this question somewhere where somebody asked a CISO whether if you have to pick one, meeting the compliance or failing the compliance requirement or getting breached, which one will you opt for out of those one? What's your take on that? Which one will you take? Is it the failing the compliance requirement?
That's a rough one. Right? It depends on what the penalty is for not being compliant, because neither one's a pleasant opportunity.
But most of the CISO who I talk, they always say, I will do the right thing first, making sure my configuration is good, my patching is done in a healthy way, everything, and I'm sure I will meet my compliance requirement if I'm doing the bare minimum things,
Completely agree. Yeah, if you're secure, you're very likely to be compliant, right? And that's the important part, is protecting that business. So do you want to talk a little bit about how to kind of bridge the technology, the business into the technology?
Yep, absolutely. So architecture standards and policy, now that's what is helping us to align with what business is. Now, typically, if you see, Mark, there are companies, or most of the companies, they are running in a hybrid mode, right? They will have their on-premises infrastructures, could be OT, IoT, or any kind of physical assets, what they have, they will be still required. And they are also now moving towards digital transformation. So they have their modern SaaS application, PaaS, and infrastructure running on the cloud as well. And what we see is organizations will end up running two separate architectures, one for on-prem and one for the cloud. But attackers are not looking at that way in terms of what is your internal process and how are you managing that. They are just looking for a single entry point. Could be from your on-prem or could be from your cloud architecture point of view, because if they get hold of one entry point, they can literally move through the easiest path in your target. So what what we are saying is we should have a unified view which converge your both the architecture on-prem as well as your cloud one with a standard policies and any other policies which it can literally help you translate those business goals and business risk with your environment. So that's kind of a bridging area, how you're going to align using your architecture standards and policies.
Yeah, and the way I think about architecture is it's when we say we all need to be working on the same page, it is that page. That is, the diagrams and the documents that describe this is what we're building towards, what we have and what we're building towards. And then the policies and standards are really the rule books that specify, this is the minimum, you have to do this, and this is how things will be. And the combination of those gives everybody in the technology world a really clear picture of what is important to the business, and it's in their language. And so you have that translation so people don't have to try and figure that out on their own. So very, very important to get those right. And we recognize it's important to have like a cloud center of excellence to kind of figure out this cloud as a new thing. But as fast as possible, you want to be maturing that into a coherent enterprise architecture because, as you said, the attackers don't care. They're just trying to find a way to get what they want. And if they can find an inconsistency between cloud and on-prem, and they'll happily take advantage of that. And so it's really important because you have that real-world test every day in security to get to a unified architecture as fast as you can.
Yep. And I want to add one more line, Mark, since we are talking about architectures, usually we have been asked questions that how my architecture will change. Do I need to redesign everything? And the guidance, we tell them that your principle will remain the same, but architecture has to redesign when you are moving your on-premises resources or the application towards the cloud. So yes, and you correctly said the unified view will require, but let's focus on the similar principles which is aligned to your business goal and risk.
Yeah, the job of security and what you're trying to accomplish does not change as you go to the cloud. How you do it does, and it changes almost exclusively for the better. And that's the thing that's super important to realize is that when you go to a shared responsibility model, it's a little weird at first if you're used to controlling everything. And if it's not in my 19-inch rack, I don't control it, right? But when you go to the cloud, part of your job is done by professionals and automation, and you don't have to worry about it. Now you have to, check and make sure that, this cloud provider in particular is trustworthy, et cetera, from SaaS to PaaS to IaaS, whatever it happens to be. So you have some responsibility to keep an eye on them, but you have a lot less work. When you're talking about cloud servers, you don't have to patch firmware, right? It's completely out of your role, which is something most organizations don't do well at. And so that's the thing to keep in mind about the cloud is that it does make a lot of these things better. Now, what you're doing is still, I'm keeping my workload and my data secure, but I have less tasks to do, and I just need to, learn how to use the cloud stuff and make sure that all of it's configured properly, and then I can focus on a shorter list and do it better.
Yep, identity, access, data is what they will always keep it with them. They own it, they manage it well. Rest leave it for us.
Absolutely. So let's finish the bridge here, right? So the last piece of this is where governance starts getting very active. And this is also the place where we see convergence between compliance and security. And this is actually a beautiful thing in my mind, because security and compliance, specifically security compliance, not compliance with financial regulations and whatnot, because there's many different regulatory types. But for security compliance and security itself, they've been trying to answer the same question of how secure are we, and then fixing anything that is found in the answer to that question, right? But because in compliance we have to be so comprehensive, it takes so long, it takes sometimes months to complete an audit. You only do it every couple of years, and it's complete, but it's also not current very quickly. And so that's where security has to be able to patch much faster than that and fix configuration of things. And in the on-premise world, that gap was pretty wide, and so a lot of people thought of compliance and security as different things. But they're really trying to do the same thing. They just have different constraints. And so what we found is as you move to the cloud, you have on-demand data. These are software-defined data centers. You run a query, boom. You look at a dashboard, boom. It's current on-demand data to either answer a compliance question or a security question like that. Now, compliance does more than just the technical configurations. It has to do people and process and some other elements as well. So you're not going to magically get one report that gets you your auditor off your back. But they're getting much closer together, and I think that's a really good thing. You know, that fulfills the vision of continuous monitoring that's been around for about 10, 20 years. Now, there's a dynamic I found of, now that you got it, what do you do with it, right? We've never had this before, so how do we handle it? Yeah. And that becomes that's the first chief challenge, is you need to have someone that is now watching that and monitoring that, because you've never had real-time data before. So now you have to put someone there that's responsible for it and that's coordinating with the teams and helping them fix stuff as it's found. That job didn't exist before because you never had that data before. And so
I can give an example on that, Mark. Mm-hmm. So as you know, I come from a CISO background, and in my last job where I had to meet compliance requirement for PCI DSS, and which is payment card industry, and ISO 27001. And one of that requirement is to make sure that your infrastructure has a minimum set of control as per that standard. So I used to have that kind of a checklist and ask my security operation, one of the engineer, to go and check every infrastructure manually, whether how they have configured it. Is the control open or not? Oh. And I tell you, that person used to be busy for the entire year because he will never finish the task. But today, continuously, if I have to monitor, if my infrastructure is in compliance, we have a number of tools.
Just go to the dashboard, check it, done.
Go to the dashboard. Real time, always on the top. And it can be easily just inform our infrastructure team that, hey, it is not meeting my requirement. Did somebody mess up on it, you know? And don't need to go for the change control or change access control board to make any changes. It's always there, always visible.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's such a mindset shift for organizations that it's hard to believe until you actually see it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with this comes, okay, what are the requirements? What does good look like in this continuous mode now? And so we've learned that the first piece of is continuous discovery, right? Which is something that's always important, but it's now a lot easier to do and do well. So you have to continuously discover the assets and like, okay, make sure I got all my VMs, my containers, my this, my that. But you also have to continuously discover asset types, because new SaaS applications come online, new Azure services, new AWS services, new GCP services, and you have to make sure you're continuously discovering the new thing that you have to monitor. And so that's one of the new responsibilities people don't expect, because we're changing to a continuous model. So very important there. Also the continuous improvement. So, you know, for each of these things you discover, you know, you're going to ask for the minimum first, like y'all need to fix these because these are critical patches. And then, you know, in a week or two, we're going to come back and we're going to start upping it, and we're going to make sure that we're getting the important ones as well. And so as we get better at the processes, we're also going to be continuously improving on those assets. And then because, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was thinking loud when you were talking, trying from my own experience. I mean, one of the objectives, since we're talking about governance, security objective is protect the business and defend the business. And this is where the whole, what as we call it, rubber meets the road. Yes. Security posture management. This is where you spend the maximum time, you know, continuous monitoring, continuous discovery. You touched upon discovery, again reminded me, number one threat today, people are working from home, is the shadow IT. Everyone is downloading the application just to be more productive. So today's security folks are going through a challenge. What application is my end user working from home are downloading and accessing it? Are they sanctioned, not sanctioned? The risk of that application, the data being ingested on those applications. But having that kind of a continuous monitoring and continuous discovery is really helping those our security operation team for managing the current security risk posture in this time.
And you're going to find more things than you can solve on the first day. So be prepared for that. Don't be surprised. It's okay. You just got to work and burn down through that list. And that's just part of the process. And then that last piece is a very important piece, because this is now taking that continuous aspect, the automated aspect of the cloud platform, and applying it to the preventive side. So when you fix things, because you've got DevOps teams that are constantly spinning up and spinning down instances and all these kind of things as the demand increases, you don't want to be doing manual fixes. especially in DevOps, because the problem itself might come from the CI/CD pipeline, and as soon as you manually fix it, it's going to go ahead and unfix it the next time they do a build, right? So you have to be very careful on that one. You want to make sure that you're automating the fixes, not just putting them in the automation stuff like the CI/CD processes, the continuous integration, continuous deployment processes of DevOps, but also in the infrastructure components. So Azure policy, it's a software-defined data center in Azure. You can set a policy that says whenever this happens, automatically fix it. And then you don't have to manually fix it each time it pops up. It's automatically going to be done for you. And that allows your team to scale so much better and get focused on the job of developing or the job of security or the job of operations instead of the job of fixing the security issue that we fixed last week and the week before and the week before that. So really important to have that policy-driven governance to just automatically fix it, with that automation. So as we get ready to close out, Abbas, any last thoughts or questions that you've got?
So yes, Mark, one typical question I get, especially when it comes to the policy-driven governance and the example which you talked about, how you can automatically apply those fixes in a real-time environment. Usually the process team or the change control team really get panic. Who is approving this change? Are you making changes in the production? Who approved it? Did you tested it? How do we deal with such scenarios in that case?
Yeah, so this is where you have to bring everybody on board, right? Because if security decides to do this in a vacuum or the infrastructure team does it in a vacuum without involving those teams, you're going to have those points of friction. And it may happen the first time or two, but that becomes an opportunity to work with them and say, listen, I want you to approve the automation instead of approving each fix, because if you approve the automation, then your life gets easier and you don't have to ask this question 100 times to get the same answer of automation. And so it takes time. I mean, this is a big transformation for all roles. I mean, everybody from the CEO down to the CISO, into IT and security practitioners, directors, architects. This is changing everybody's jobs in big and small ways. And so it's really important to have everybody under that culture of learning and working towards those common goals and understanding that, hey, we're all figuring this out. And let's go ahead and build a better process if the old process doesn't work. So that's really how I would approach a situation like that.
Absolutely. And I recall, again, my own experience. Every Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock, we used to have a change control meeting with room full of 20 people. So imagine the number of man-hour we were wasting discussing a single small change to be made. And then in the middle of the night, the admin will be awake whole night. Just somebody has to approve it and then execute those areas. But today, as a part of your governance, you can execute it everything remotely and automation way, just in time, just enough access, approve the automation, and the job is done.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. It is different, but it is absolutely better. So Abbas, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and thank you all for watching. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.